In a quote from Parade magazine, Franklin Delano Roosevelt is quoted as saying, "Nobody will ever deprive the American people of the right to vote except for the American people themselves. And the only way they could do this is by not voting." According to the Arizona Secretary of State's voter registration historical data, in the 2020 election, there were over 4 million registered voters in Arizona. Of those, a little over 3 million cast a ballot, which was slightly less than 80%. Maricopa County alone accounted for 2.5 million of those registered and 1.5 million of the votes cast. All of those ballots cast, and none of those were cast by unregistered voters. Hi, my name is Rosa Rodriguez Size, and I've been a registered voter since 1991. I'm an alumnus of the Emerge Arizona program, which provides training for Democrat women who are interested in running for political office. I was also a trainer for the Leadership Academy, which is a federally recognized training program originally sponsored by the Department of Health Services to enable people to take more civic responsibility. I'd like to share with you some of the reasons why people aren't registered to vote, explain why registering to vote is essential to having your voice heard, and give you some guidance on becoming a registered voter. This will give you the information that you need to get registered to vote and start voting. Why do we need to do that right away? Well, let me show you. According to the Maricopa County Recorder Elections Office, in 2020, only 67% of registered voters cast a ballot. That means that about 43% of the American public allowed the other 67% to make decisions for them that will affect them and the communities that they live in. Let's think about that for a minute. If I live in a community like Maricopa County that is composed of a political majority and they aren't registered to vote, and a political minority whose constituents are registered to vote, whose initiatives do you think will have more support? That's right, the political minority, because they're registered to vote. Have you ever been at the grocery store and somebody with a clipboard comes up to you and says, "Hey, are you registered to vote?" And you say, "No." They just pass you by. But if you say yes, they ask you if you'll sign their petition to get something on the ballot. That's because in Arizona, you need a specific number of signatures from registered voters in order for you to get your initiatives on the ballot. So even if you think there's something that is a valuable proposition, if you don't get enough signatures, you can't put it on the ballot. Getting the community to vote on initiatives that do get on the ballot presents a challenge as well, and there's a variety of reasons. Some of those reasons involve not being registered to vote, a disinterest in politics, and maybe you just don't like the candidates. The top 3 reasons that people don't vote are they aren't registered, they have a disinterest in politics, or they just don't like the candidates. According to ServiceArizona.com, registering is a snap. So you can do it online by filling out the registration form online at ServiceArizona.com, or you can print out a registration form and mail it back, or you can fill out the registration form and drop it off in person. Maybe you're not interested in politics. Neither was I when I first registered. But having a family member who's been a candidate in a local election changed how I experience politics. Because you may not eat, live, and breathe politics like some people, but let's take a look at these statistics. You pay taxes on the food and drinks you buy, on the house you live in, and there are taxes on even the money you make. These revenues are used to fund schools, highways, and offer health and human services to individuals who are elderly or have a disability. I would challenge you to think about how your voting affects how those funds are used in your community. It's becoming more commonplace that politicians are being elected that do not share the values of the communities that they've been elected to serve. And they're bills that are being proposed that do not reflect the values of the constituents. According to Ballotpedia, in the 2021 state legislative session, more than 150 anti-abortion bills were filed or introduced. Senate Bill 1457 includes several anti-abortion provisions. I'm not here to tell you how to feel about this bill. It's just that if you feel strongly about it, then you should be able to make your voice heard. You must be thinking, so what's the solution? Well, you've got to register to vote. ServiceArizona.com and the Arizona Motor Vehicles Department indicate there are 3 criteria that must be met for your registration to be valid online. You need to be 18 years old on or before the next general election cycle. You must be a U.S. citizen and an Arizona resident. So it's as simple as going to ServiceArizona.com and click on voter registration. There you can register to vote for the very first time. If you've already registered to vote, you can find out the status of your voter registration, or you can even find where your polling place is. So voting is not for everyone. So if you're okay with politicians that don't represent your community's interests, then you don't need to vote. If you're okay with others making rules that they think you should follow, even when you think the rules are unfair, you don't need to vote. If you're okay with other people making rules about how much you should pay in taxes and then deciding what to do with the money without considering the effects on your community, then maybe you don't need to vote. However, if you think that you should have a voice in these decisions, then you need to vote in the next election.